Looks like a
perhaps.
totally different
Right, and the
climate.
flowers give it an impressionist feel.
Right,
You know, like the way
exactly.
she
And this-
did
and this is
the
almost like
trees.
Monet.
That's
Yeah.
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 So, I don't know, I think,
But
I think
used
she was
white
very-
flowers.
And
the
Degas,
other
the other
picture
one.
had white flowers also.
yeah, the last picture had the prominent five,
Well, her
five
dress.
bright white roses, or tulips.
Definitely
The,
French
there, I think that she also, so she's an activist with regard to race, to gender. And I have sensed that she's also very anti-establishment when it comes to considering high art, and that being a fabrication, and a means of keeping those out who the prominent wish to keep out. And so with her making reference to high art in her piece, there's some level of ownership there, and also inclusion that she places herself there. The use of tie-dye, the use of material, the use of text is a deviation from high art. So the fact that among her series she makes references to high art is very inclusive. So she, I don't know, I think that that's an important insight.
Yeah.
Okay. The color palette here, you can maybe have some fun with them, finding the opposite colors, talking about vibrancy, how this piece comes alive because you have opposite colors meeting. You can see, I mean, again, we have a blue sky, we have the sun, when you look up, does not look like an orange ball. It's a convention we have. Only at sunset does it ever look, quite orange, and the sky's not blue at that point, right? The wavelengths, the sky. So, but it plays an orange sun and that blue ground, and there's again vibrancy, and the pitching of blue next to orange throughout the piece. Okay, so this is Matisse's chapel, and I was going to ask you two if you remember much about this piece, because I couldn't find that much about this piece. But I'd like to know the narrative, and I'm kind of at a loss for that. But some of the children have already had Matisse and Meet the Masters, and it would be interesting, I think, if you. What?
But I also think, you see a nod to different artists in different pieces. This
Right.
is
This is
her-
another example. This is just another example. Yeah.
This is from my notes from
Oh,
last
good.
time,
Oh, you're
so
good.
it
Yeah.
has a picture of the actual.
Yeah, I knew that.
And I just starred the little part. I didn't really read it right this second, but
Okay.
I starred.
Thank you.
You want to
Okay.
look at that?
So
That's the.
okay, so Ringo's work was still exploring feminism, race relations, both the United States and Europe, family and her narrative. She was interested in modernism and African art. Craft or folk traditions also played a role in her developing of personal style. This is something she had in common with Matisse. And so these are the Matisse cutout forms.
Oh, and the
And-
form in the back.
Yes.
behind them.
And so if you know Matisse's, if you know a bit about Matisse, he worked, especially at the end of his life, cutting out, with the scissors, cutting out forms. So she's introduced those forms into the stained glass of this church.
There is a church.
Yeah.
That's the
It's a
picture.
real
That's-
church.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what Susie has in
In
it.
France.
Is the
And I
picture
believe it's in,
of the
It's
real
in
church.
France, but
It's in
it's
France.
sort of in the countryside.
But it looks, the picture looks, if you want to pass around.
yeah, it's passed
The
around.
windows are
Yeah.
Okay, so I love this piece. This is a U.S. Postage stamp commemorating Advent of Black Power.
10 cents. Wow.
Yeah, so a couple important things about this piece. Do you see, first of all, the X? The X through the center. So, look, we cancel stamps, right? This idea of X, but this is a reference to Malcolm X and Black Power. The words Black Power go across this diagonal. And what's nice is there's this kind of after effect you get if you stare at this long enough, where you start to see that it also says white power. And I did this so that you could notice it, because some people can stare at this for hours and not see the letters, right? Here's power, P-O-W-E-R.
On its side, on its side.
It's in the.
R.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard
didn't see
to
it.
so okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
I-T-E.
I never would have noticed that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it merges, but it's difficult because it's so busy.
Oh, now, once you see it, you see it.
Yeah, right.
You can't ignore it, right?
Right? Yeah, so
Yeah,
So
sorry.
cool.
so I think this is excellent image to use to talk about figure-ground relationships. So, there's a figure-ground relationship in which the ground, which would be the space around these forms, takes on a figure status. And once you notice that, you see the letters without recognizing the ground. So
Yeah.
it's like the duck rabbit or any of the other, the vase. I'm sure you've all seen the vase and the silhouette of the two heads. It's often used to illustrate figure-ground relations. When you see one, you don't necessarily,
Yeah.
you can't see this, hold that image at the same time as seeing the others. So this is one of those
So cool.
images. And so you might think about her use of facial tonality, reference to black power, that there's underlying white power. When you think of a stamp, I think one association is government, and and here's, by the way, reference to the year 1967. For civil rights movements.
For
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
Martin Luther King Day, all the classes that I had in lower school art, so they might be familiar. We talked about commemorative stamps, and a lot of the students never, unless they go to sleepaway camp, they never mail a letter with the snail mail. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Also, nobody is black in the
Yeah.
picture. They have to say black, but they're not black. They're red and white.
Yeah, and I interpret the red as being Native
Right.
American, and that part of our American history.
Is the white power bigger? You see how it's bigger? Do you think that means something? That the letters
Yeah,
for white power?
I would. In terms of oppression.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
And cultural overlay. I mean, literally, the letters white power overlay, kind of the fabric of society.
What's the medium? This is not fabric? What is
Here,
this?
let's go back here. Let's spell this out here. We don't have this.
I don't think it's.
So,
Like this. There
I-
it is.
Oh, okay, got it. So where is it?
I actually,
Once you see it,
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what the medium is because we don't have it listed.
I don't know.
I
We
don't
can
know
look
what
it
it
up.
is.
Maybe we can find it for you. Airmail.
So anyhow, so that's my take, and I think that she provides us with really great material to talk about formal issues related to art, and whether it be figure ground or use of repetition or harmony or unity or the color palette and how that all plays together, and and by showing that video clip, if you're able to, I mean, again, I'll just send you the link and you can access that on the computers and just launch it through the internet. I would suggest you get to class a few minutes early so that you can cue it up and then hit pause right after that little commercial plays. It's from PBS, but still there's that small commercial in advance. It's like 30 seconds, but it's a distraction, so cue it up and then hold it on the side. I think it's wonderful to show a living artist and
Yeah.
to hear her voice and to see her body next to her piece. Gives you a sense of scale, and we lose that when we start reproducing art. We lose what the human relationship is.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
In here it says the 90 light faces and 10 dark faces represent the percentage of whites and African Americans in the U.S. at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So much for my thinking that this had a reference to Native Americans, but yeah. So would you say it was the ratio of whites to African Americans?
African Americans.
Thank you for that creative interpretation on my part.
That's changed.
Yeah, it's changed. It's dated.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's my take. And again, I'm going to send. I already sent an email to Alicia to circulate the slides to you all. Because particularly for that white power, I think it's helpful to have that overlay. So do with it what you want. The idea is that this is your presentation. I'm just trying to give you something to stand on if you want some ideas. Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think we did great this month. Thank you both. I'm really excited about it. If we can link this into the study of Martin Luther King and how things have evolved, even better. But there's so much to discuss. If you can build in a little extra time, it's great. And thank you both, Amanda. Thank you, Susie. And good luck with this. let Alicia know how things are going with, if you have to change your time, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, and the other thing is the ball in Africa. This
We're gonna
lends it,
definitely
this,
send you information once.
no, but this lends itself to the patterns which we may have to go into. African patterns.
Leopard,
Yay.
leopard looked mean, I took its teeth out, I had to